The Kingdom of the Moonlit Forest Prologue. The Legend of Putri Embun, Child of Dew and Moonlight ***, before the first Sultan raised his banner, before the great rainforests whispered the names of kings, before the monsoon winds carried stories across the shining straits. There was a night when the moon descended. In the ancient Malay world, long before time was measured, the full moon shone brighter than ever, recorded so bright that the forests glowed silver, and the sea lay still as polished glass. On that night, the spirits of the land stirred. The orang bunian danced in invisible rings. The great tigers lifted their heads as if hearing a silent call, and the rivers trembled with anticipation. At the heart of the moonlit forest, a single drop of duklir as crystal rested upon a giant bungaraya blossom. When the moon's light touched it, the dew began to shine, expanding, pulsing, and taking shape. By dawn, the dew had transformed into a child, a girl with skin like morning mist, hair shimmering like moonlit water, and eyes that carried the quiet wisdom of the forest itself. She was discovered by Mak Lila, an elderly herbalist who wandered the forest gathering roots before the sun rose. Startled but unafraid, Mak Lila approached the glowing infant. As she lifted the child, the surrounding trees bowed slightly, as if honoring a sacred moment. Mak Lila named the girl Putri Embun, the Princess of Dew. But Putri Embun was no ordinary child. Even as an infant, flowers bloomed where she crawled. Moonlight gathered around her skin, and animals, deer, birds, even the great Malayan tiger, approached her without fear. The orang bunian watched her secretly, whispering among themselves, "The moon has chosen her, the land has chosen her." But far beneath the rainforest, in caverns sealed for centuries, something else awakened. A forgotten darkness, a slumbering presence bound by ancient spirits after a cataclysm lost to memory. A being whose hatred for the moon and all its creations burned like black fire. When Putri Embun came into the world, the seal that kept this darkness imprisoned began to crack. Thunder rolled across the straits. The monsoon winds rose too early, and the animals of the deep sea fled toward unfamiliar shores. Mak Lila, sensing an omen, kept Putri Embun hidden. She raised the girl with tenderness, teaching her the lore of herbs, healing, and the rhythms of the forest. But as Putri Embun grew, so did her gifts and the disturbances. At age 7, she calmed a raging storm simply by stepping into the rain. At age 10, she healed a wounded tiger with a single touch. By 16, her presence alone caused moonlight to pool through the forest canopy even on cloudy nights. And all the while, the ancient darkness whispered her name. One night, as the moon reached the highest point in the sky, Mak Lila finally revealed the truth. "You were not born," Mak Lila said softly. "You were given, and because of that, child, one day the land will call you to fight." Putri Embun, though trembling, lifted her face toward the moon. Deep inside her heart, she felt it the same pulse that had awakened her on the night of her creation. A destiny, a warning, a promise. The moonlit forest was preparing for conflict. The sea spirits stirred. The orang bunian watched closely. And in the ancient caverns, the darkness cracked its final seal. The legend of Malaysia's greatest guardian was about to begin. This is the tale of Putri Embun, child of moonlight, princess of dew, and defender of the moonlit forest. Chapter 1. The night the moon chose her. The monsoon winds had quieted earlier than expected that year, leaving the Malay rainforest wrapped in a rare and unsettling stillness. Even the cicadas, usually loud enough to shake the leaves, held their voices hushed, as if waiting for something they could not name. The air was thick with the earthy scent of wet bark, moss, and hidden blossoms. And deep within the moonlit forest, Mac Lella walked slowly, leaning on her carved rattan staff. She had made this journey countless times, gathering herbs at dawn and dusk, tending to the hidden gardens that only the forest's oldest spirits remembered. But tonight felt different. The air tingled against her skin, and the moon, huge, round, luminous, hung impossibly close, as if descending toward the treetops. Mac Lella paused and squinted at it. "It has not glowed like this since my grandmother's grandmother," she whispered. Branches rustled above her, though no breeze was present. The forest seemed to breathe. As she stepped into a cluster of bungaraya bushes, her foot brushed something soft, not leaf, not soil, something warm, something alive. Mac Lella gasped, her heart tightening with fear and wonder. There, nestled atop an enormous crimson hibiscus, lay a small child, curled like a sleeping pearl. The infant's skin glowed faintly, tinted with the palest blue, like the underside of a morning cloud. Her hair shimmered silver, reflecting the moonlight in gentle waves. Most striking of all were the wisps of mist curling around her like protective ribbons. For a moment, Mac Lella wondered if this was a trick of the Orang-Bunian, mischievous forest beings known for their illusions. But no illusion could warm her palms the way the child did when she gently lifted her. "She is real," Mac Lella whispered, "and she is touched by the moon." Above her, the canopy shifted. A faint sound, half sigh, half whisper, passed through the branches. It felt like approval. Mac Lella wrapped the moonlit infant in her shawl and began carrying her home, though she sensed the weight of something far greater than a child in her arms. As she walked, strange things began to happen in her wake. Flowers unfurled in the darkness, glowing faintly. Fireflies gathered like a floating crown around the child, and streams she passed by rippled despite the stillness of the air. When Mac Lella reached her wooden house on stilts at the forest's edge, she placed the child in a woven cradle. "You are a blessing," she murmured, "or a warning, maybe both." She gave the child a name, Putri Embun, Princess of Dew, for the way her skin glistened like the morning mist. Putri Embun grew quickly, with the forest watching her every step. By the time she learned to walk, she left trails of glowing dew in the grass. At age 3, she giggled and butterflies materialized around her. When she touched a dying sapling, it revived. It was clear she was bound to the moonlit forest, not by fate, but by essence. But while Putri Embun thrived, the world outside began to shift. Fishermen from the nearby village of Sungai Purnama returned with stories of unusual tides. Boats were pushed inland by waves that shimmered with silver foam. Elder women whispered of strange shapes moving under the water, too large to be fish, too smooth to be sea serpents. The hunters who roamed the rainforest reported sightings of animals fleeing deeper into the jungle, as if avoiding something unseen. Even the tigers no longer roared at night. Instead, they growled low, restless, wary. And deep beneath the earth, in caverns sealed for centuries by rituals older than any sultan's dynasty, the ancient darkness stirred. One night, when Putri Embun was 7, the moon swelled large against so bright it cast shadows like the midday sun. Mac Lella felt a familiar knot of unease tighten in her chest. "Embun," she called softly. "Come here, child." The girl padded into the room, moonlight clinging to her hair like stardust. Yes, Layla knelt, holding the girl's hands. Do you feel it? Putri Embun nodded slowly. The forest is shaking, but the wind is not moving. Layla breathed sharply. The child was sensitive to sensitive. That is why I must tell you this, she said. The night you appeared in this world, the moon came down from its path. It shone so brightly, even the sea froze. The spirits whispered your name before I even knew it. Why? Putri Embun whispered. Because you are not ordinary. You are tied to forces older than any story we tell. Layla cupped the girl's cheek. And that is why some things will be drawn to you. Good things and dangerous things. Putri Embun's eyes reflected the moon like to clear pools. I am not afraid, she said, but Layla was. The following week, Layla took Putri Embun deeper into the forest than ever before, into the Heart Grove, a hidden clearing where the air shimmered with old magic. At the center stood a massive, ancient tree whose roots twisted like serpents and whose trunk bore carvings left by shamans from forgotten ages. Before Layla could speak, soft footsteps approached. An orang banyan emerged tall, graceful, and half-transparent, dressed in garments made of woven moonlight. His voice was like a flute played in a distant valley. The child is growing, he said, and so is the darkness. Layla tightened her grip on Putri Embun. What darkness? The girl asked. The being turned his luminescent eyes toward her. A force that predates sunlight. It sleeps beneath mountains and seas. When you were born, its chains loosened, and now a low tremor shook the earth. The forest birds erupted into flight, screeching. Putri Embun felt the ground pulsing beneath her feet, she whispered. The orang banyan knelt before her eyes, filled with equal parts sorrow and awe. It wants you, Putri Embun, he said, because you are the only one who can stop it. The moonlight brightened around her, wrapping her in silver glow. And somewhere far below, beneath stone and shadow, something old smiled. Chapter 2: The River of Whispers. As dawn returned, the twin spirits Au and Noin continued their journey across the golden plains of Laos, following the shimmering thread of the Mekong River as it wound through valleys carved by time and legend. Its waters glowed with a pale silver light, ancient, knowing, and strangely alive. The river spoke. At first, only Au heard it, a soft hum, like wind across bamboo. Then the whispers grew clearer, swirling around them like drifting mist. Children of the sky, turn back, Au froze. The river is warning us. Noin stepped toward the water, stubborn as always. Warnings are comfort for those who fear. We fear nothing. But as his foot touched the surface, the river recoiled, rippling violently, as if rejecting him. A deep voice rose from the depths. Not all journeys honor the balance. Your path will awaken what sleeps beneath the silt. Au looked at her brother, her eyes clouded with worry. The land is alive in this kingdom. We must listen. Before Noin could answer, the river parted like a curtain. From within its depths rose a figure made not of flesh, but of flowing water, a guardian spirit, shaped like a serpent, with long, elegant whiskers, shimmering like moonlight on waves. Its eyes were gentle, but ancient, the Naga of the Mekong. It bowed, coils forming luminous spirals on the surface. Children of the sky realm, it spoke. Your arrival has stirred the undercurrents. For centuries, I have protected these waters from the darkness imprisoned beneath them. But something is changing. The earth trembles, the seal weakens, Ayu's heart tightened. What darkness? The NGA's voice deepened, like thunder rolling underwater. A forgotten titan, buried when mountains were young. A creature of drought and hunger, the devourer of rivers. Noin's fists clenched, fire gathering in his palms. If this monster rises, we will defeat it. But the NGA shook its head. Strength alone cannot win. You must seek the lantern of Sihome, hidden within the spirit caverns beyond the rice terraces. Only its light can calm the primal force below. Ayu nodded. Then we will find it. The river spirit slowly sank back into the depths, but before vanishing completely, it whispered, "Beware the shifting earth, and beware the shadow that walks with you." A chill swept over the twins. For the first time, Ayu sensed it, a faint echo behind them, a presence neither river nor sky, a follower, a watcher, something that did not belong. The chapter ends with the twins beginning their journey toward the terraced mountains, unaware that the earth beneath them was already cracking, and something ancient was beginning to stir. Chapter 3: The Spirit Caverns of Sihome. The rice paddies of Laos stretched before Ayu and Knowing like emerald mirrors, each reflecting the soft morning sun and the drifting clouds overhead. Terraces climbed the mountainside in graceful steps, carved by generations who lived in harmony with the land. But today, the fields trembled. The ground shivered beneath their feet, gentle at first, then sharp enough to scatter flocks of herons into the sky. Ayu steadied herself. The NGA was right. The earth is shifting. Nawin exhaled, heat curling from his hands. Then we must reach the caverns before anything awakens. They followed a narrow path that wound between terraces, the scent of young rice and wet soil thick in the air. But the peaceful landscape soon changed. The terraces grew uneven, as if disturbed from below. Stone walls cracked. Water spilled in broken streams, and the whispering began. Not like the Mekong, not gentle. These whispers were dry, rasping, like reeds scraping against stone. Ayu's skin tingled, the devourer's breath. Nawin narrowed his eyes. Then we're close. At the base of a towering limestone cliff, they found it. A vast archway carved by nature and time, its entrance draped in vines and glowing faintly with blue fireflies. The spirit caverns of Sihome. Ancient shrines stood outside the mouth of the cave, teeny stone figures of river gods, offering bowls filled with flowers and clay lamps that still burned despite the wind. As the twins stepped inside, the blue light brightened, guiding them deeper. The cavern walls were etched with swirling pattern stories carved by spirits long before humans came. Ayu reached out to touch one. It glowed warmly beneath her fingers. These carvings, they're alive. They're watching, Noin muttered. The tunnels opened into a chamber of shimmering crystal pillars. Water dripped from the ceiling, each drop chiming like a bell. In the center of the chamber stood a pedestal woven from roots and stones, and atop it, glowing like a fragment of sunlight, the lantern of Sihome. Ayu stepped forward, awe softening her expression, the light that calms the Ancient One. But as she reached for it, the chamber darkened. A gust of wind tried to snuff out the lantern. Shadows twisted along the cavern walls, merging into a single figure tall, hollow-eyed, its limbs long like branches without leaves. The presence that had followed them. A shadow walker, born from the cracks of the earth. Its voice was a hiss. Children of the sky, you carried too much hope. Noin stepped in front of Ayu, flames bursting across his arms. You shouldn't have followed us. The creature lunged. Light shattered. fire roared. Au seized the lantern. Just as its guardian spirit awakened inside it, a burst of golden light flooding the cavern and slamming the shadow walker into the stone wall. It shrieked and dissolved into dust. Silence fell. No one looked at the lantern, still glowing in Ayu's hands. We have it now. Nothing can stop us. But Ayu, staring at the trembling earth beneath their feet, whispered, "No. Something already has." Far below the cavern's ancient scales scraped against stone. The devourer of rivers had begun to wake. Chapter 4. The awakening below the Mekong. The lantern of Sihome pulsed in Ayu's hands like a living heartworm, bright and trembling with urgency. Its golden glow illuminated the cavern walls as the twins hurried back toward the entrance. But the ground beneath their feet shook again, harder this time, sending pebbles cascading from the ceiling. Noan steadied himself on a stone column. "It's rising faster than we thought." Iyu's voice was barely a whisper. Then the lantern wasn't meant to stop it, only to guide us. They emerged into the sunlight, just as a distant rumble echoed across the terraced fields. Farmers stopped working, raising their heads as the earth beneath the paddies rippled like disturbed water. The Mekong River itself began to swell, not from rain, not from tides, from something moving beneath it. Noan clenched his fists, flames flickering along his knuckles. "We have to get closer." They sprinted along the muddy path toward the riverbank, weaving between water buffalo, overturned baskets, and villagers pointing in fear. The once gentle Mekong churned violently, waves forming against the flow. Ayu lifted the lantern. The golden light shot forward like a ray, piercing the murky water, and in that instant they both saw it, a massive, coiling silhouette, scales the size of shields, twisting beneath the depths, the devourer of rivers. Ayu's breath caught. It's already awake. The river erupted. A geyser of water blasted upward as the titanic serpent breached the surface, its body stretching farther than the eye could see. Its head alone was large enough to eclipse a house, with eyes like molten stone and teeth jagged as cliff edges. Villagers shrieked and scattered. Noan stepped forward, fire racing up his arms. "Ayu, we can't fight that, but we can slow it," she whispered, her eyes glowing with golden light as the lantern responded to her courage. The serpent turned, its gaze locking on the twins. A thunderous voice rolled across the river. "Children of the sky, why do you wake what was meant to sleep?" Ayu shouted over the roaring water. "Because the fractures in the land reached even your resting place. The earth is breaking in. Something older than you is stirring." The serpent studied them, its massive tail curling in agitation. "I feel the tremors, the one who gnaws at the foundations, the crawling hunger." Noan swallowed hard. "We need your help. Will you aid us, River Guardian?" For a long moment, the ancient serpent said nothing. The river calmed only slightly around its immense form. Then the devourer lowered its head until its glowing eyes were level with the twins. "I will help you, but only if you help me restrain the fractures that tear my domain." Ayu lifted the lantern. "Tell us what to do." The serpent turned toward the southern horizon, where the Mekong flowed like a living artery through the land. "Travel downstream. At the Falls of Cone, the first wound in the world has opened. Seal it, and I shall lend you my strength." The ground trembled again, as if warning them that time was slipping away. Ayu nodded. "We'll go." Noan stepped beside her, flames dancing in determination. "And we'll return, with the world still standing." The devourer sank back beneath the water, vanishing into the depths with a final surge that rushed through the river like a heartbeat. Au lowered the lantern, its glow dimming slightly. We're running out of time. Noan looked down the river, toward danger and destiny. Then let's move. Chapter 5. The Falls of Cone and the first wound mist rose in shimmering curtains as the roar of the Cone Falls thundered across the landscape. The sound reached Ayu and Knowing long before the falls came into view, a deep, echoing rumble that vibrated through the ground like the heartbeat of something vast and restless. As the twins followed the riverbank, the lantern of Seahome brightened with each step, its golden glow flickering in response to an unseen disturbance. Noan glanced at it uneasily. It feels different here, like the airs tearing. Au nodded. The devourer said, "This is the first wound. If the world is fracturing, this is where we'll see it." When they reached the edge of the falls, the sight froze them in place. The Cone Falls, normally a cascading series of powerful, swirling rapids, had divided. Literally, the water split at the center, as if an invisible blade had cut the world open. A massive rift, pulsing with dark red light, glowed beneath the churning flood. Jagged stone edges trembled, cracking further as the earth groaned in protest. Ayu shivered. This is wrong. Nature doesn't break like this. Noan crouched, flames flickering around his palms. It's like something pushed upward from below. A deep voice vibrated through the stones beneath their feet. It did. Au and Noan spun around. Standing in the mist was a towering figure, half human, half beast, with the body of a massive water buffalo and the upper torso of a muscular guardian spirit. His eyes glowed like pale moonlight, and the staff he held was carved from ancient driftwood. Au whispered, "The Mekong guardian." He inclined his head. "You carry the lantern of Seahome. Its light is the only thing that can stabilize the fractures." Knowing stepped forward, cautious. "The devourer sent us. We want to seal this wound." The guardian's gaze swept over the falls. "Then you must descend." Au blinked. "Descend into what?" "The wound opens into the underflow, the realm beneath the river. Something stirs there, clawing at the world's roots. If it breaks through completely, all rivers will turn against the land." He lifted his staff, and the falls trembled. A spiral path of stones rose from the raging water, forming a descending staircase into the glowing red fissure. Ayu's heartbeat quickened. "We're going in there." Noan grinned, despite the danger. "We've gone worse places." The guardian extended his massive hand. "Before you go, take this." A small orb of swirling water formed in his palm, humming with power. When Ayu touched it, the orb sank into her skin, spreading a cooling sensation through her body. The guardian said, "This will shield you from the river's pressure, but be warned, the creature below feeds on fear. Do not let it sense yours." Ayu nodded solemnly. "We understand." Together, the twins stepped onto the stone path and began their descent. The deeper they went, the more the roar of the waterfall faded, replaced by a low, rhythmic pulsing. The red glow illuminated the narrow rift walls around them, making shadows stretch into long, twisting shapes. Knowing whispered, "It feels like something is breathing." Au tightened her grip on the lantern. "That's because it is." At the bottom, the path opened into a vast cavern filled with rushing streams of glowing water twisting through the darkness like living veins. The air smelled metallic, and the ground pulsed beneath them. In the center of the cavern lay a massive cocoon-like shape, wrapped in black tendrils, twitching with each pulse of the wound. Au inhaled sharply. "That thing." It's trying to break free. Noan raised his fists, fire bursting to life. Then we stop it. Before they could move, a voice oozed from the cocoon's surface low, echoing, hungry. Children of light, you cannot stop what has already begun. The tendrils lashed outward, striking the cavern walls and sending shards of stone raining down. Au lifted the lantern of Sihom, its golden radiance pushing back the darkness. Noin now. Twin beams, one of fire, one of light, shot forward and collided with the cocoon. The cavern shook violently, cracks of golden energy racing along the tendrils. The creature screeched, the sound piercing and furious. But the lantern's glow intensified, the guardian's water barrier swirling around the twins like a shield. With a final surge of strength, the cocoon split open. But instead of a creature, a swirling mass of shadow burst forth, screeching as the light burned through it. The wound sealed itself with a thunderous crack, the red glow fading as the cavern walls stabilized. Au collapsed to her knees, exhausted but relieved. We did it. Noin helped her stand, though his voice was steady. One wound down. How many more do you think there are? A voice echoed from the fading fissure. More than you wish to know. Fewer than you fear. The Mekong Guardian's presence lingered like mist. Au looked up toward the surface. Then we keep going, until the world stops breaking. Noin nodded. Where to next? The lantern flared, projecting a shimmering map of the region in midair. One point glowed brighter than the rest. The Taitawangsa Mountains of Malaysia. Au exhaled. South, the next wound is already calling, and together the twins climbed back toward the light. Chapter 6. Into the spine of the peninsula dawn spread like liquid gold across the horizon as Au and Noen crossed into the Taitawangsa mountain range. The long, forested spine of the Malaysian peninsula rose around them, steep ridges, emerald slopes, and mist that clung to the treetops like wandering spirits. The air here was different, warm, buzzing, alive with unseen eyes. Au pressed a hand over the lantern of Sihom as it grew brighter with every step. It's reacting faster than before. The next wound must be close. Noan shaded his eyes against the rising sun. Or something is watching us. The forest answered with a low, resonant hum, not dangerous, but ancient, as though the very trees were murmuring among themselves. The trail narrowed into a steep stone path, scattered with vines and wild orchids. With every breath, Au felt the pulse of power beneath the earth growing stronger. A sudden gust swept through the trees. Not wind, movement. Au froze. Did you see that? Noan stepped in front of her. Fire trickled along his fingertips. Yeah, we're not alone. Something sprinted across the canopy fast, agile, silent, except for the faint rustle of leaves. Then another shape darted behind a mossy boulder. They were surrounded. Au lifted the lantern. Show yourself. Leaves parted. She was tall and lithe, with rich bronze skin marked by swirling forest sigils. Feathers crowned her hair, and her eyes glowed the same deep green as the forest canopy. Her attire was woven from bark, vines, and shimmering strands of moonlit silk. Behind her emerged more silent figures, archers, with bows of living wood, their arrows tipped with glowing sap. Noin muttered. Forest guardians. The woman stepped forward. You trespass upon the domain of Gunung Raya, sacred heart of the mountains. State your purpose. Au bowed her head respectfully. We seek the next fracture, the wound tearing through the earth. The lantern brought us here. The guardian's gaze fell upon the lantern. Recognition flashed in her eyes. The light of Sihome, she murmured. If you carry that flame, then the mountains truly are in danger. She motioned for her warriors to lower their weapons. My name is Ratu Malor, keeper of the central range. Come, there is much you must see, and little time left. She led them along a hidden path deeper into the mountain forest. As they walked, the trees began to twist unnaturally, their trunks bent at impossible angles, roots curled upward like grasping hands. The air hummed with distortion. Au touched a warped trunk. It looks sick. Ratu Malor nodded gravely. The mountain's heart is unraveling. Something has rooted itself deep within the earth, a parasite feeding on the ley lines. Nawin frowned. Like the creature we faced in the Mekong. Worse, she answered. This one grows faster. It spreads. The path opened into a clearing and Ayu's breath caught. The land itself had caved inward, forming a massive crater. At its center writhed a network of dark, pulsing veins, spreading like a monstrous web beneath the soil. Each pulse sent a tremor through the ground, releasing faint clouds of black mist that twisted upward like dying spirits. Au whispered, This wasn't a wound. It was planted. Ratu Malor's jaw tightened. Yes, something intelligent. Put it here, something that understands how to kill a world. Nawin's flames surged. Then let's burn it out. No. Ratu Malor raised a hand. If you attack blindly, you risk rupturing the entire spine of the peninsula. The range is connected. One break could domino into catastrophe. Au swallowed hard. Then what do we do? Ratu Malor pointed toward the crater's far edge, where faint golden runes shimmered beneath the soil, most erased by the spreading corruption. These are ancient seals, she said, placed by the primordial spirits. If restored, they can halt the corruption long enough for you to strike at its source. Au knelt beside the runes. The lantern can recharge them, I think. Nawin looked up, heat swirling around his fists. And I'll guard you while you do. The forest trembled. A deep, rumbling growl echoed through the crater. A huge shadow rose from the corrupted pit, massive, horned, crawling on many legs, like a centipede carved from obsidian. Its eyes glowed with venomous green fire. Ayu's face paled. It's awake. Ratu Malor drew dual blades that shimmered with green-gold light. Children of the sky, prove your destiny. Stand your ground. The creature reared back, releasing a screech that shattered branches. Ayu pressed the lantern against the runes. Light burst outward. Nawin stepped before her, flames erupting across his arms like twin serpents. I've got you. Come on, you ugly mountain worm. The creature lunged. Ratu Malor met it head-on, blades sliding like lightning across its armored hide. Sparks flew as the beast roared in fury. Ayu's lantern blazed brighter, reactivating one seal, then another, then another. Golden light pulsed through the earth, pushing back the corruption. But the creature sensed the shift and turned its wrath toward her. Nawin's eyes burned with fierce determination. Not a chance. He slammed his palms into the ground, unleashing a wave of fire that spiraled around Ayu like a protective ring. The forest guardians fired volley after volley of glowing arrows, pinning the beast in place. Ayu shouted, "Last seal now." The final rune ignited. Golden chains erupted from the soil, binding the creature's limbs and dragging it toward the center of the crater. Ratu Malor yelled, "Strike the core." Nawin didn't hesitate. He leaped through the air, fire blazing around him, and slammed both fists into the creature's exposed chest. The mountain shook. A scream tore through the world as the beast imploded into dust. Its corruption burned away in a pillar of golden flame. Silence followed, heavy, exhausted, but triumphant. Au collapsed to her knees, panting. "We did it." Ratu Malor sheathed her blades, bowing to them. "The mountains are safe for now." But the corruption was planted. Whoever is doing this, they are targeting the foundation of Southeast Asia itself. Knowing helped Iu stand. "Then tell us where to go next." Ratu Malor pointed south, toward the distant horizon, where ocean met sky, to the archipelago of Singapore. "A wound has opened beneath the Straight One, unlike any other." Au lifted the lantern. Its light bent southward. "We'll go, and we'll stop this," Noin added. "No matter what it is." The mountain winds howled, as if warning them the greatest danger still waited beneath the sea. Chapter 7. The Whispering Peaks of Taiwan. The morning mist clung tightly to the slopes of Gunung Taiwan, turning the rainforest into a world of silver and green shadows. Iu and Noin climbed steadily, the lantern of Sihom glowing with a pulsing warmth that seemed to hum in tune with the forest. Every step they took echoed with whisper soft, almost musical, like leaves brushing together, but the tone carried an urgency that raised the hairs on their necks. "This place, it feels alive," Iu murmured, glancing at the twisted roots that coiled like serpents along the trail. Noan's eyes scanned the dense canopy. "Alive, yes, but I'd say restless. The last seal we restored must have stirred the mountain spirits, and not all of them are friendly." As they ascended, the wind began to carry faint echo shouts and laughter that sounded impossibly close, though no one was visible. Suddenly, a series of stone pillars emerged from the undergrowth, etched with glowing glyphs that shimmered under the lantern's light. "These are markers," Iu said, kneeling to examine one. "The guardians of this range must have left them to guide travelers or warn intruders." A low rumble passed through the ground. From the distant cliffs, shadows moved, tall and elongated, stretching unnaturally as they approached. Figures with armor that seemed made of bark and stone emerged, mountain guardians, their eyes shining faintly with green luminescence, bows strung with vines. Ratu Melor stepped forward from behind Iu. "They've been waiting for us," she said calmly. "The Whispering Peaks do not welcome strangers lightly. If you hope to reach the southern fissures, you must prove yourselves." Au steadied her breath and lifted the lantern. Its golden light radiated outward, brushing the mountain spirits with warmth rather than offense. The guardians hesitated, their glowing eyes flickering, as though deciding the twins' fate. "You carry the seal of Sihom," one finally spoke, its voice echoing like stone scraping stone. "The mountain senses your intent. Show courage, and you may pass, fail, and be consumed by the cliffs." Noan stepped forward. Flames coiled along his arms, and he drew a deep breath. "We will pass. We have no choice. There is a darkness spreading, and the rivers and mountains themselves cry for help." The guardians' stances softened. The tallest among them raised a hand and spoke a single word in the old tongue. The forest around them shivered, and a hidden path opened through the dense undergrowth, spiraling upward toward a jagged ridge. Au and Noin exchanged glances. "We're ready," Au said. The climb was treacherous. Every step was challenged by hanging vines, loose stones, and sudden gusts that threatened to throw them off balance. The whispers grew louder, merging into voices, warnings, encouragements, and strange riddles that seemed to come from the mountains themselves. At the ridge, they paused. Below them stretched the Tichuangza's spine, dense forests rolling into valleys, shrouded in mist. Ahead, a massive fissure in the mountain pulsed faintly with crimson light, the next wound. From within, shadows twisted like living smoke, and the air vibrated with a low, hungry hum. Au held the lantern high. This is it, the source of the corruption here. We need to seal it before it spreads to the lowlands. Noan's fists ignited. Then let's get to work. Whatever waits inside, we'll handle it together. The mountain trembled as they began their descent into the shadowed fissure. The lantern's glow illuminating the twisted roots and jagged rocks. Around them, the whispers rose to a chorus of warning and guidance, urging them onward. As they neared the heart of the fissure, a massive shadow lunged from the darkness, its form shifting constantly, tendrils of corruption lashing outward. It was a fragment of the primordial evil, drawn to the cracks they had begun to heal. Au raised the lantern of Sihom. Its golden light struck the shadow, forcing it back with the brilliance of pure energy. Noin flung fire in sweeping arcs, the heat searing the tendrils as Ratu Mellower's guardians joined the battle, striking precise blows that anchored the shadow to the ground. The fissure pulsed violently, and the mountain quaked. Au focused all her energy into the lantern, chanting the words the forest spirits had whispered to her. Golden chains shot from the lantern, wrapping around the shadow, binding it in radiant light. With a final roar, the corrupted mass was drawn into the lantern's seal. The fissure trembled one last time before settling into stillness. The crimson glow faded, replaced by soft silver light, and the whispers softened into sighs of relief. Au sank to her knees, exhausted but triumphant. Noin helped her up. Ratu Malor placed a hand on the twins' shoulders. You have done well. The mountains are safe, at least for now, but your journey is far from over. The southern archipelagos stir with the next corruption, and its depth may test even the devourer's patience. Au nodded. Then we continue. Whatever it takes. Noin glanced at the horizon, where islands glimmered in the distance beneath the rising sun. Southward then, more wounds await, but we'll face them together. The wind carried a final whisper through the peaks, almost like a blessing. Children of moonlight and flame. The world watches, and it trusts you. And with that, the trio twins and Ratu Milorda ascended the peaks, lantern and courage, guiding them toward the next challenge. Chapter 8. The Sunken Temples of Johor. The journey south from the Whispering Peaks lead Ayu, Noin, and Ratu Malor through dense lowland jungles, where sunlight barely reached the forest floor. The air grew thick with humidity, and every step brought the scent of brackish water from the mangroves stretching toward the coast. The lantern of Sihom pulsed gently, guiding them like a heartbeat toward the next wound in the land. They say the temples of Johor lie beneath the tide, Ratu Melor said as they reached the edge of the mangroves. Centuries ago, they were buried when the earth shifted. Few have seen them, and fewer still have returned. Eu's gaze followed the glow of the lantern, which pulsed stronger here, resonating with the corrupted magic below. Then that's where we must go. If corruption is spreading, it would seek sacred places first. Noin kicked aside a fallen branch, revealing a natural canal. Then let us hope our next challenge, Dosan Tea, drown us before we reach it. The waters of the canal glimmered faintly, reflecting the lantern's golden light. As they navigated the slow-moving stream, ripples spread unnaturally across the surface. Shadows shifted beneath, too large for ordinary fish or river creatures. Au froze. Something's down there. Before she could finish, a series of dark shapes surged upward. The guardian spirits of the sunken temples, now twisted and corrupted. Once serene beings carved in stone and imbued with elemental magic, they now moved like living statues, their eyes burning with malice. Noan ignited fire along his arms. So much for a quiet journey. The guardians advanced. Water twisted around them like living whips, and the air vibrated with their angry chants. Au raised the lantern, and streams of golden light arced outward, striking the guardians. The corrupted spirits screeched as the light seared their forms, yet they were relentless. Ratu Malor stepped forward, chanting in the old tongue. Her blades, infused with forest magic, flashed like green gold fire, cutting through water and stone alike. Focus on the core of the corruption, she commanded. Au dove deeper, following the lantern's pull. Beneath the temple ruins, a colossal fissure pulsed red and black, like a wound in the very earth. From it arose a massive creature, Leviathan of stone and water, born from the corruption of the old temples. Its roar sent tidal waves crashing over the mangroves, and the guardians hesitated, sensing the sheer power emanating from it. "We can't fight it head-on," Au shouted over the roar. "The lanternet can bind it." Nawan nodded, flames dancing. He moved alongside Ayu, creating a protective ring around her as she raised the lantern of Sihon. Streams of radiant golden light flowed from it, weaving around the Leviathan. The corrupted creature struggled, its form distorting, tendrils of darkness snapping against the chains of light. Ratu Malor and the guardians struck in unison, binding the Leviathan with enchanted chains. Golden sparks flared, illuminating the submerged temples with a radiant brilliance. The corrupted Leviathan screeched one final time before dissolving into harmless currents, leaving the temples peaceful once more. Ao collapsed onto a submerged stone step, exhausted but relieved. "It's done, for now." Ratu Malor helped her stand. "The corruption has retreated, but it is only a matter of time. Its roots are deep, and it will seek the next sacred place." Noan wiped sweat from his brow. "We've still got more work ahead. The southern seas won't wait for us to rest." Au nodded. The lantern of Sihon pulsed softly, as if in agreement. Ahead, the horizon shimmered with the vast expanse of the Straits of Malacca, hinting at new dangers lurking beneath the waters and in distant lands. "The world is changing faster than we thought," Ayu said. "The final battles may be closer than we imagined." Ratu Malor's eyes narrowed, scanning the distant horizon. "Then we must move quickly. The next wound awaits across the straits, where islands and ocean currents meet their lies, a test of courage, cunning, and trust in forces older than men." The trio pushed forward, the lantern leading them into the growing dusk, casting light over the mangroves, the ruins, and the mysteries yet to unfold. Chapter 9. The Isles of Tidal Shadows. The Straits of Malacca stretched before Ayu, Nawan, and Ratu Malor, a labyrinth of shifting tides, hidden reefs, and fog-laden islands. The lantern of Sihon pulsed steadily, guiding their path like a living compass. Each ripple in the water seemed to whisper warnings, carrying hints of ancient magic that had slumbered beneath the sea for centuries. "This place feels different," Au murmured, adjusting her grip on the lantern. "The corruption here is more subtle, but no less dangerous. It hides in the shadows between tides. Noin squinted at the horizon. Looks calm enough, but I don't trust water that's been quiet for centuries. Ratu Melor nodded. The tides are clever. Corruption moves with them. Here, the sea itself conspires against travelers. You must remain vigilant. As they navigated a narrow channel between two jagged islets, ripples intensified around them. Shadows rose from the water, forming humanoid figures that floated just beneath the surface. Their faces were distorted, with glowing eyes and mouths that opened in silent screams. The tidal wraiths had been awakened, drawn to the lantern's light. Au lifted the lantern high. Its golden glow cut through the mist, striking the wraiths. They shrieked and recoiled, but their numbers were overwhelming. Noin ignited flames along his arms, creating a ring of fire around the boat. "We can't let them drag us under," he shouted. Ratu Melor drew her dual blades, their green-gold sheen flashing as she struck with precision. Each slash dissipated wraiths that tried to rise from the water, buying Iu time to focus on the lantern's power. The lantern pulsed stronger as Iu chanted the old words taught by the mountain spirits. Streams of golden energy dove into the water, binding the wraiths and forcing them to retreat. Suddenly, a massive shadow erupted from the sea, colossal serpent, black as midnight, with eyes like molten emerald. Its scales shimmered with corruption, and each motion sent waves crashing into the islands. "It's a sea-born fragment of the primordial evil," Ratu Melor said grimly. "The tide has given it shape." Au steadied the lantern. "Then we need to bind it before it spreads the corruption further into the straits." Noin's flames roared to life, creating a fiery barrier in front of the serpent as Ratu Melor leaped onto its back with blades flashing. Au raised the lantern, releasing a beam of golden light that wrapped around the serpent, forcing it toward the deeper channel. The battle was fierce. The serpent lashed its tail, smashing rocks and tossing water high into the air. Wraiths swirled around it, adding their malice to the chaos. But with every chant and strike, the lantern's light grew, weaving chains of golden energy that bound the serpent and calmed the tides. Finally, with a deafening roar, the serpent dissolved into a cascade of sparkling water, leaving the channel clear. The wraiths dissipated, carried away by the returning tide. Iu sank to her knees on the boat, breathing heavily. "It's finally over here." Ratu Melor placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "For now, but the corruption moves like a living current. Its source is far from exhausted." Noin leaned on the boat's edge, scanning the horizon. The next wound, it must be inland again. Somewhere, the land and sea meet. Au nodded, holding the lantern tightly. Its light seemed to shimmer with purpose, pointing toward the southern islands of the Malay archipelago. "The journey continues," Au said, "and soon we'll see who or what stands behind all these wounds." The sea wind carried their resolve, and the golden glow of the lantern illuminated the path ahead, promising both danger and hope. Chapter 10. The southern islands of the Malay archipelago emerged from the morning mist like jewels scattered across a silver sea. Iu Noin and Ratu Melor navigated through narrow straits where the tides whispered secrets of ages long past. The lantern of Sihom pulsed urgently, as if sensing the corruption's presence beneath the island's dense forests. "These islands, they feel alive," Iu said, tightening her grip on the lantern. "And angry." Noin's flames licked his palms. "Angry is one thing, dangerous is another. And this place reeks of both." Ratu Melor's gaze swept across the horizon. The islands hold ancient temples, burial grounds, and ruins of civilizations that once communicated with the spirits of the land and sea. Something has corrupted those connections, twisting the old magic into chaos. As they made landfall, the forest closed around them like a living wall, roots tangled beneath their feet, and faint glimmers in the undergrowth revealed tiny, restless spirits disturbed by the corruption. Whispers rose from the shadows, warning and guiding them in the same breath. At the center of the largest island, they found it, a colossal temple complex, half swallowed by roots and vines. Its stone walls were cracked, and dark veins of corruption pulsed like open wounds along the carvings. Ayu's eyes widened. This must be the source, the core of the corruption in the archipelago. A deep growl reverberated from within the temple. Shadows stretched across the walls, coalescing into a monstrous figure, a guardian, corrupted beyond recognition. Its form was a fusion of lion, serpent, and bird, with wings tattered and eyes burning green with malice. Ratu Melor stepped forward, blades drawn, a fragment of the primordial evil it has learned from each battle. Stronger, faster, smarter. Noin ignited flames along his arms, circling Ayu protectively. Then we hit it together. Lantern and fire. Just like before, Ayu lifted the lantern of Siham. Its golden light shot forward, intertwining with Noin's flames to create a radiant barrier around the corrupted guardian. The creature roared, lunging forward, its claws raking stone and earth. The battle raged across the temple grounds. Ratu Melor's strikes were precise, severing veins of corruption while avoiding the creature's deadly talons. Ayu channeled the lantern's energy, chanting the words taught by the spirits, weaving chains of light that wrapped around the guardian's limbs. The corrupted guardian screamed as the chains tightened, its form flickering between shadow and beast. With a final surge, the lantern's energy consumed the corruption, leaving behind a single, uncorrupted stone guardian, silent but serene. Breathing heavily, Ayu lowered the lantern. It's done. The archipelago is safe. For now, Ratu Melor nodded. The corruption in the islands was a test. The source of these wounds is orchestrating its spread with intention. You've passed the trial, but the final confrontation is approaching. Nawan looked toward the horizon, where the last stretch of mountains and rivers awaited. Then we keep moving. We know where it leads. Ayu's hand tightened on the lantern, its glow steady, homeward, to the final wound and the one who dares to awaken chaos across the land. The island winds carried their determination, while the golden glow of the lantern illuminated the path southward toward the heart of Malaysia, the place where destiny, courage, and the final battle would converge. Chapter 11. The final wound emerges. The southern mountains of Malaysia rose like jagged spines against the twilight sky, casting long shadows over the valleys below. Ayu Noin and Ratu Melor pressed forward along narrow ridges, the lantern of Sihom pulsing with a golden urgency that made the shadows dance unnaturally around them. This is it, Ayu whispered. The lantern's light. It's almost blinding here. Whatever corrupted the rivers, mountains, and islands, it's here at the source. Noin's fists burned with fire. Good. Let's end this once and for all. No more fragments, no more tests. Ratu Melor's eyes scanned the terrain. The final wound is not just a fracture in the earth, it's a convergence of all corrupted magic. One misstep, and the balance of the entire peninsula will collapse. As they descended into a valley shrouded in violet mist, the ground trembled beneath them. cracks had formed across the soil, glowing faintly with red energy. Rivers of molten corruption snaked through the landscape, feeding the dark pulse at the valley's heart. Au lifted the lantern of Sihome. Its golden beams cut through the gloom, revealing the figure at the center, a colossal being, neither human nor beast, but an amalgam of shadows, serpents, and burning veins of corrupted earth. Its eyes burned with ancient malice. "So, this is the one who orchestrated everything," Noen muttered. "The source of all the wounds." The being's voice echoed across the valley, deep and resonant, vibrating through every stone and tree. "Children of the sky and flame, you dare approach me." Au held the lantern higher. "We dare. We will not let you destroy this land." The being roared, unleashing tendrils of shadow that surged across the valley like waves. Nawan met them head-on, flames striking and dispersing the dark energy. Ratu Melor leaped through the shadows with her blades, severing veins of corruption that threatened to consume the valley. Au focused the lantern's energy, chanting the ancient words of binding. Golden chains erupted, wrapping around the being's limbs, but it thrashed violently, almost breaking free. "You are strong," it hissed, "but the world is mine to remake." Nawan stepped closer, fire engulfing him, and slammed both fists into the dark mass. The impact sent shockwaves through the valley, destabilizing the corrupted rivers. Ayu's light flared brighter, weaving through the chains to stabilize them. Ratu Melor chanted, her voice merging with the forest and mountain spirits who had followed the twins' journey. The air shimmered with power as nature itself lent its strength to the battle. The being shrieked, tendrils snapping as the lantern's golden chains tightened. Au poured every ounce of courage into the lantern, visualizing the rivers flowing, the mountains standing tall, and the islands thriving. With a final, deafening roar, the being disintegrated into a cascade of golden sparks and harmless smoke. The molten rivers cooled, the red glow of the cracks faded, and the valley fell silent, bathed in the serene light of the lantern. Ayu sank to her knees, exhausted but triumphant. Nawan placed a hand on her shoulder. "It's over. The wounds are sealed." Ratu Melor looked over the valley, her eyes softening. "The land is saved. The spirits will heal, and the balance restored. But remember, the lantern's light is not just a weapon, it is a beacon. It will always call to those who would protect the world." Au held the lantern tightly. "We've done it. All the rivers, mountains, and islands, safe." Noan smiled faintly. "Then it's time to go home. But I have a feeling this adventure has changed more than just the land." The sun rose over the valley, illuminating the restored beauty of Malaysia. Forests lush and green, rivers sparkling under the morning light, and islands glowing softly in the distance. The twins and Ratu Melor stood together, knowing that the journey had forged bonds that would last lifetimes. And though the shadows had been vanquished, the memory of their courage and unity would remain. A story whispered by the winds, rivers, and mountains for generations to come. Chapter 12, Epilogue. The Lantern's Legacy. The morning sun bathed the highlands of Malaysia in a golden glow, spilling across rivers, forests, and islands that had once been scarred by corruption. Ayu, Noin, and Ratu Melor stood atop a cliff overlooking the land they had fought to save. The lantern of Sihome pulsed softly in Ayu's hands, its light no longer urgent, but calm, like the heartbeat of a restored world. "Look at it," Ayu whispered, awe in her voice. "Everything. It's alive again." Noin stretched, letting the warmth of the sun wash over him. We did it. All the wounds healed. I can't believe it. Ratu Melor placed a hand on the twins' shoulders. It was not just strength that saved this land, but courage, unity, and respect for the balance of the world. The corruption could never have been defeated by force alone. You, too, carried light into places even the spirits feared to tread. Ayu looked at the lantern, its golden glow reflected in her eyes. The lantern, it's more than just a tool. It's a reminder of what we're protecting, not just the mountains and rivers, but everything that depends on them. Noin nodded, and it reminds us that darkness can be faced together. No matter how strong, it can't withstand hope and courage combined. The wind carried the whispers of the land, rustling through the trees and over the rivers like voices of gratitude. Animals emerged from the forests, birds soared above the restored streams, and the islands in the south glimmered like scattered emeralds. Ratu Melor smiled. The wounds are healed, but remember this, the world is alive, it watches, and it will always need guardians, ones who are willing to answer the call wherever it leads. Ayu and Nawin exchanged a quiet glance, understanding the weight of her words. Their journey had changed them, teaching lessons that would last far beyond this adventure. As they descended from the cliff to the forests below, the lantern of Siam's light illuminated their path, casting golden rays over flowers, streams, and ancient ruins that had been renewed. The twin flames of courage and light would now travel with them, guiding future generations who might also stand against the shadows. Before leaving the mountains, Ayu whispered a silent vow. We will protect the land, the rivers, and all life within it, and we will remember every lesson this journey has taught us. Noin placed a hand over hers. Together, always. The sun climbed higher, bathing Malaysia in a brilliance that seemed to flow from the lantern itself, a symbol of hope, courage, and the enduring legacy of those who answer the call of the world. And as the wind carried their laughter and the lantern's glow over the valleys and seas, the story of Ayu Noin and the Lantern of Sihon would be whispered through generations, a tale of light overcoming darkness, courage confronting fear, and unity restoring balance. The epic was complete, and the land, once wounded, was whole again.